futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, January 14th, about 6 a.m. Central Time. Overnight, the precious metals are rebounding after an aggressive sell-off following a readjustment for the higher for longer theme. Some overnight headlines that I'm watching here. U.S. futures are looking to rebound higher, adding to the modest gains in the S&P 500 after reports that the Trump team is studying gradual tariff hikes under emergency powers as China's central bank reiterates easing pledges in amidst to its policy dilemmas. So today we're going to really be focusing on a lot of the economic data that's starting to come out specifically around inflation. We've got PPI coming out at 7:30 a.m. Central Time and then CPI the next day. And it could give us some clues here as far as how the Fed is going to attack interest rates going forward. So looking at the overnight price action, the precious metals, gold is rebounding after falling the most in 3 weeks. Gold had fallen about 1% on Mondays as traders really recalibrated those interest rate bets after that surprisingly strong U.S. jobs data reinforced the views that the Fed is going to stay higher for longer. Shifting to the energy markets, we've got crude oil futures hovering near a 5-month high after threats for global supplies by harsher U.S. sanctions against Russia and the flows of potential trade tariffs that are coming in through the Trump administration. So you've got Brent crude near $81 a barrel. It jumped about 5% over the previous 2 sessions. And then shipping rates, they've surged globally around the world here in response to those measures after we targeted about 160 tankers. So remember, if you'd like to open up an account with Blue Line Futures, please send an email to info@bluelinefutures.com. We can get you plugged in with our research. We can also get you a consultation with myself, Bill, or Oliver over here. So back to looking at the overnight price action here, you get into the S&P 500 up about 22 points, back right around that 59 level. Yesterday, the washout was about 258.09 before snapping back throughout the remainder of the session. We do have 2- and 10-year treasury yields. They are inching up right now, so some pressure on the bond market, on the 10-year yield. So the response to that is looking at the gold market. The highs overnight, 26.90.30, trading right now about 26.81, 26.82 in that range. Low 26.77. So big sell-off in the gold market, only a little response. Now shifting to silver, very disappointed in this contract yesterday, and I'll tell you specifically why. We've fallen about $1. It had a great run up here, and it seemed like it took the stairs going up and the elevator going down. It fell about $1, but where I'm disappointed is the rebound that we saw in many of the broad-based commodities out there, many of the stock indices throughout the session yesterday, and very little to no response in that silver market whatsoever. Silver stuck down $1 and it hung out there the entire session. Now looking at the overnight session, only up about 16 cents. Reality is that yesterday, I believe that much of that late day selling was a lot of people probably trying to avoid margin calls, things like that, or just throwing in the towel at the moment. They caught that double bottom, that moved back up, market sold off, and they just got out of the market and then called it quits for the day. They didn't come back into that market because of the way the chart pattern set up. They probably want to see if we can hold and build some support in some area. Now copper futures looking really good, up about 1 at 433. Platinum futures very disappointed. We've got to pay attention to this one too. Ran up to about that $1,000 mark, which is a psychological level before starting to sell off here. A lot of traders play that $100 range from 900 to 1,000. Now you get the breakdown. Now you've got a little bit of continuation down. We're going to want to see how this thing will trade around certain psychological numbers like the 950 level. You do have palladium up about 11, and then looking at the gold silver ratio here last, we're sitting right around 88 to 1. So not at that 90 level where I think that silver really goes on to a discount to that gold market, but getting close enough. Looking at the outside markets, you got crude oil futures down about 32 cents, natural gas slightly lower, Bitcoin rebounding up about $3,000. So nice move back up off those critical levels of support. You got pocket support between 92,000 and 90,000. All the grain markets taking a breather after that explosive rally up following the USDA report and its surprise cut to ending stocks. Now the dollar index coming off its highest levels, remember it breached 110 about Sunday night here, got right up to that level, now last 109.52. So looking at some other things here and your performance leaders throughout the day and some of the other key metrics that we look at here. Let's get into it here. So looking at the best performers on the day, you're going to see the soybean oil continuing its rally. That had a big breakout on the charts here, followed by crude oil. These are year to date. So soybean oil number one, look at that chart going sideways, breaking out to the upside. Probably following those clues from the energy markets. Crude oil, heating oil, Brent crude, all your best performers. Then you get dipping down with the metals pulling back a bit. It's going to be your copper, your platinum, your palladium, and then your silver here, all kind of coming off just a bit. Now looking at the CME's Fed Watch tool, that's just simmered down. 2.7% chance that they cut interest rates by 25 basis points at the January 29th meeting. So consider that just completely gone. We're going to have to start looking at farther out meetings. Now the good thing is that once they kick out that meeting, that expectation for that cut, which is all the way brought out to October, what's the only thing that can happen basically from here? If we start to see some of this inflation data come off, like I said, well, PPI and CPI coming out, that expectation for the interest rate will be pulled forward. So then when it gets pulled forward, you're going to see gold futures start to rise from there, in my opinion. So looking at the economic data, again, the core PPI expecting 0.2%, PPI month over month expecting 0.4%. We will have a Fed speaker come out, the federal budget balance, and then another Fed speaker towards the end of the day. So not a lot of big mover and shakers coming out there in the markets. Your two levels you want to watch on the gold market, 27.15. We got to close above there, and we are holding the 50-day moving average at about 26.71. We held it yesterday. We held it the day before. We'll see if we can hold that level again. If we break below 26.71, look for pocket support 26.50 to 45, and then 26.22 below that. We break out above 27.15, I think it's party on, and people will start piling back into that market quite aggressively. Now silver, quite disappointing. Psychological support, $30. We don't want to see much of a break below that. And then back above that, we're going to have 31.08. That's been a resistance point we've seen over the past couple sessions, just above that level. It also corresponds with the 50-day moving average. We close above that, 31.67 is that critical level. Getting into the platinum market, back near the 50-day moving average at 963. You're looking at the upside, your resistance 1,000, your support right in this area. Back below that again, 950 and 932. You don't want to see a close below 932 on that market. Now copper futures are just kind of drifting higher, so we'll have to see if there's something out there that could pull the rug on that market. But as far as I'm concerned, I think that China is doing a lot of consumption ahead of Trump coming into office, and there's just a lot of moving parts as far as the Trump administration and different tariff proposals. So if you guys got any questions, reach out to me. Give me a call, 312-858-7303. Remember, futures and option trading, it does involve risk of loss. It may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.